Welcome to Phil Margo, The Lion Roars and Does He Roar? And it's heard exclusively on MalcolmPresents.com. So,
and I'm happy to be here.
yeah, happy New Year, Shana Tovah.
Yes, Shana Tovah. Happy New Year, and I'm happy to be with you. And seeing the new year. What is it? 5780 now?
82.
Oh, 5782. When I was a kid, we belonged to first of all, my family was a family of rabbis. All of my relatives, when I was on my father's side, the Margo-The's were mostly all rabbis. And they married rabbis. I mean, my aunt, Tante Chavid, I called her, she lived in Atlantic City. She married a rabbi. Her son became a rabbi. It's like, so I was married by, Abby and I were married by three rabbis. Okay.
I assume they were all Orthodox then.
And it worked because it's 55 years almost. It'll be 55 years, October 23rd. We'll be married for 55 years.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it meant it worked. I mean, you didn't get divorced, but it worked in your case.
When you say a marriage works, I couldn't find my glasses today. I was going nuts looking for them. Abby came into my room here, and my man cave, and she looked and she said, "There they are." And that alone, so I kissed her hand and I thanked her. No one gets along 100%. No marriage is 100%. Anybody who thinks that has a marriage like where the man is boss and everything is done his way. Mm-hmm. Women aren't boss anymore in that way. I mean, now they're getting there, but for most of civilization, women were second place, and now this law in Texas, without getting into it, are making women second place. My religion, the Jewish religion, that I thought understood human beings, women were second place. Women couldn't own property. Women had to sit in a separate part of the shul. Women were second place in my religion.
Right.
And I went to temple where women sat on one side and men sat on the other side.
Yes, so did I. That was the Orthodox.
Yes, and it was ridiculous. The whole concept. Oh, it's too tempting for men to look at the women. Really? Nature made it that way. God, if you like, made it that way. It made women shapelier and prettier and more attractive. It did. We're just a bunch of ugly
baboons.
Really. I mean, but women, look at the shape of their body. It's Baroque. We're this. We have to get ourselves muscles. We have to do this and this. Women have that shape. It's beautiful because they're made to have children, and that's why their body has to be shaped.
Well, it's made for procreation. I mean, that's if we weren't attracted to women, there'd be no children.
It's made to have procreation done. It doesn't mean that a woman has to procreate. I mean. It provides, nature provides the possibility where women carry children. That's it. That's part of nature, or God, if you like, But they were never meant to be second place.
No.
They were never meant to be treated by men so cruelly throughout history. I mean, come on. The historical treatment of, and now they're still doing it. They want to go back to it. Women what to do with their bodies. They have no right at all. Anyway, so my religion was very male oriented when I was growing up.
I think most religions are. Take Catholicism. Women can't become priests.
Right.
Catholic.
Right. It's all true. And they have to do this, they have to do that. Sex is this, sex is that. They stipulate, the religion stipulates what a woman could do with her body. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's not what nature does. It's completely against nature.
Yeah, they were talking about. I had a course I remember in college called Marriage in the Family, and I think the most ideal setup was I think it was Tahiti, or one of those islands where when a woman became pregnant, it was like they thought it was an act of God. It had nothing to do with sex. It was an act of God. And what happened is when she gave birth, the child was taken care of by the brother, the uncle. That was a family, the mother, the child, and the brother and the uncle. And he took care of the family. You know, he provided for them. It wasn't the man whose son it was the brother. So therefore, you know, it kept the family unit.
Well, I mean, okay, that's what they did. Mankind historically treated women like crap throughout history. They did, except when you happen to be the queen or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they didn't screw around with Queen Victoria, or Queen Elizabeth, the first Queen Elizabeth. I mean, but basically, and I'm sure that they had their problems dealing with men, even the queens, because men have this built-in, maleness that I found horrible. I mean, I never understood why women had to sit in a separate place in the temple, or why. I mean, my mother was one of the first feminists, and when my sister became 13 years old, and we belonged to this Orthodox shul, she wanted my sister to have a bat mitzvah, and they went nuts. The temple said, no, you can't have it. She's a girl. She can't be. The word bat mitzvah didn't exist. Bat is daughter.
Yeah.
Ben is son.
Well, now they have bat mitzvah.
They didn't have bat mitzvahs.
Yeah.
They didn't exist. So my mother said, wrong. And she was the head of the PTA. And she says, we're having a bat mitzvah. You show me where it says in the Bible or in the Talmud that a girl can't have a bat mitzvah. She reaches her age too. Just like a male reaches his age, the girl reaches her age. It's the same thing. So it was a whole brouhaha in the temple, and everyone said, oh, wow, the elders went nuts. And she wound up having my sister get bat mitzvah. The only caveat was she couldn't do it on the bimah. She had to do it on the floor of the temple.
What temple were you a member of?
What? Oh, the Jewish Center of Brighton Beach.
Where was it?
On Ocean Parkway between Neptune Avenue and Brighton Beach Avenue.
Okay. I mean, the reason I'm asking you.
And my Hebrew teacher, I went to the Hebrew Alliance first because my uncle Pinchas Margulies was a reverend in that temple. So I went there first. But I found it to be very annoying. And this other temple was around the corner. So we went to it. And the teacher, Mr. Panich, who was probably one of the adults in my life that had the most effect on me. He was not a rabbi yet. He was teaching and using that to get his rabbi thing, rabbinical thing, but he was such a real guy, and I was the leader of the junior congregation. I ran the service. I mean, that's how much I was into it. I was there. I did the service. I was the chazan. I mean, it was serious stuff. But he didn't push that stuff. He didn't. I mean, and he took me places. He took me to a school for the blind. I must have been 11 or 12 years old. And I never saw anything like that before. And it shocked me. And it haunted me for the rest of my life, how people do good, and he went once a week to that school to talk to the kids. And they were blind. And that's the kind of guy he was. And he was that way. He was very consistent about that,
Mm-hmm.
and he was marvelous. His name was Herbert Panich, and I got to see him years later in Florida. He was the head rabbi in Milwaukee at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and and so I took my religious patina, if that's a correct way of putting it, from him, you know. And I played ball on Saturdays, and I went in the car, and I went on the subways, I did all that stuff, and I went to temple, and I fasted when I was 13. You know, I fasted.
Do you fast today?
No.
No.
Today's not the day you fast.
No. I mean, do you fast on Yom Kippur?
Yeah,
Thursday.
I usually fast. I used to fast the whole day. Now I can't, because I need to take medicines, and you need water to take medicines, so you can't really fast. And my son says that's fine. My son is a rabbi, by the way.
Yeah, that's permissible. I know. Well, what is he, Orthodox or conservative or Reform?
Well, he's all of them. He keeps kosher, keeps a kosher home.
Yeah.
He wears a kippah all the time. He keeps the holidays, you know, the tradition.
Does he wear tefillin?
Yeah, when he davens. Yeah, does he? But I don't think he wears the tzitzis when he's.
No, every day.
Yeah,
and he likes tefillin. Yeah.
Yeah, but he does, and he. So he's like he's as Jewish as he wants to be, you know, and we talk about the Bible, and we talk about the lack of reason in it. You know, it's not even good storytelling. You know, the Bible, it contradicts itself constantly, 1 minute after the next. And my son's view is that it was tales to help you learn. You know, it's like mythology was. You know, Greek mythology, none of that stuff really was true.
Right.
But it gave, and the Bible gave the 10 Commandments, which were a pretty good, the essence of law, you know. Don't kill, don't steal, don't rape, you know, all of that stuff. I mean, besides, I am the Lord thy God, and you know, you have to establish your position. I'm the president, you know. It's fine, and he understands that, you know. He understands that Cain killed Abel, and where did he go? There were no other people. You know, if it was just Cain and Abel and Adam and Eve, and Cain killed Abel, and Cain went off and got married, who did he marry? There was nobody else on the planet,
right,
except for them. So I mean, and then of course the whole thing, binding of Isaac. You know, he never even picked up the knife. God, you know, Abraham. You know, I mean, it never got that far. If God really were testing Abraham, he would have at least had him put the knife to you know, to Jacob's throat.
Well, for those who don't know the Old Testament, it's where Abraham was supposed to kill his son.
God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son that was born to his wife in her 90s. Okay, he couldn't have children, and then he had this miracle child.
Well, she couldn't have children because didn't he have a child with his
with the slave?
His servant.
That was Abraham, and it skips my mind now.
Well, that's how they had
Esau. Esau was his brother, his half brother.
You know, he went off and became a Muslim. That's where the Muslims came from.
One way, and Abraham went the other way. But at any rate, she had a child, and now God is telling Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, you know, and it's called, the part of the Bible is called the binding of Isaac, where he brings him up to the mountain, and he's ready to do it, and he's ready to pick up the knife, and then the lamb starts baying in the you know, off camera.
Yeah.
It took his attention, like when two people want to kiss too early in a Hallmark movie, and a phone rings, you know, and the lamb, and you know, and he realizes that, and he stops, and he says, don't do it, you know. So God was testing Abraham.
Right. God said, I was only kidding.
But Abraham was testing God too. They don't tell you that side of it.
No.
Because he never picked up the knife. It's like in the movie Blazing Saddles,
Yeah.
where he picks up the gun and he says, "I'm going to shoot myself. I'm going to shoot." It was a bluff. The whole thing was a bluff. And that Blazing Saddles reminded me of The Binding of Isaac. You know,
Yeah.
but what I do appreciate is the resilience and amazing survivalness of the Jewish people. That is the miracle above everything else. There was no end of civilizations that try to destroy the Jews.
And still are.
And still, even here in this country, there are, I think, probably 10 to 15, maybe 20 million people in this country that are anti-Semitic, maybe more. Okay. And one of the reasons is they don't know the story of us. They don't know what we did, how we managed to survive through all of that stuff, because we were tied together culturally. And the Jewish culture gave mankind so much stuff. You know, I'm not even talking about the Einsteins and the doctors who quit Salk and people like that. I'm talking about just civilization. You know, wherever they went, they civilized everybody. It was like, and they were resented for it, you know, because they took power. They didn't take power. No one knew how to handle it. You know, no one knew what the hell they were doing. So, you know, anyway, so my religious life as a kid was real, you know. I dressed up for the holidays. I went to temple. I did all the things you're supposed to do, and even carried that through when I got married and with my kids. I took them to temple. We had a wonderful temple for the arts here at the motion. I'm pointing this way because the Motion Picture Academy is up the street. That's where we had our services. We had our Friday services at the Writers Guild, and we had our High Holy services at the Motion Picture Academy. And the people who came were like people who were in the industry, producers, actors, writers. So when they would do readings, they were like brilliant, you know. I mean, you have these terrific actors with these great voices doing the reading. So, you know, so that was great. And we met everybody and we were friendly. And like everything else, everything gets wrecked. You know, everything good eventually gets wrecked. Somebody does something and screws it up. And today, it's you know, there's a lot of temples in my neighborhood, you know.
Well, yeah, Beverly Hills, there's,
yeah,
especially if you go down Pico by La Cienega.
Yeah.
That's become the ultra-Orthodox area.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I mean, and I mean, it's fine. Do what you want. You know, it's not my business to tell you how to worship. But I think religion was just created to keep people in line. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. How do you keep people in line? God will strike you dead if you do A, B, and C. Don't forget, you're dealing with people that didn't know didn't know one, you know, that thought the sun went away when it set, and didn't know if it was going to come back.
It doesn't?
Well, really, yeah, I know. It was a floodlight. Huh. So that's, and now religion has taken on. One of the things about this country that was great was that religion has nothing to do with government. That was a separate thing. Now, all of this crap that's happening is all these religious people who want us to follow their religion. They want us to do what their religion says, which is what it always is when you have slavery. And right now, I believe we really are headed for a civil war in this country, because all the red states are going to pass laws like they did in Texas, okay, denying women a right to choose. And the states who disagree are the blue states. So the red states, so now instead of blue and gray, it's blue and red. And I think there will be economic pressure put on the government by the blue states to say, look, if you guys can't get your act together, then we don't want to be part of this.
Yeah.
I
No.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, California is the seventh largest country in the world. Do we have to take that crap that they're putting on, that the government is going to lay on it? Because the Supreme Court is an associate criminal in it, to agree that it's okay to do what they're doing, that Texas is okay. You know, it's just stunning. So I think there's going to be a civil war. I really do. I mean, it might not be blood battle to battle. It might not be shooting each other, but I think it's going to be definitely economic. I mean, because the blue states really support the red states. The red states would be out of business if not for the tax that the blue states sent them. They use our taxes to survive, to hurt us. You know,
Yeah.
and that's nonsense. That's not democracy. We're so far away from democracy now. It's just stunning. I mean, there is no democracy when you have the minority with more representation in the Senate, and then there's, you know, you have senators from states that have 36 people and they get 2 senators, and California 40 million people and we get 2 senators, and then you have a filibuster. So even if you have the majority, you still can't do it because you need 60 votes. This is not a democracy. Anybody who thinks it is dreaming. It's not.
Well, that's a question I had when I was doing my show with Deborah. And again, you know, where we think apart. I was saying, can democracy work as it is?
No.
I think there has to be some major changes.
It's not democracy anymore.
Well, that's why it has to be major changes made to.
I think the first thing that should be done is I think the filibuster rule should be gotten rid of. I think the Democrats should pass all the laws they feel like, including increasing the Supreme Court, because these people have no clue as to what the people need. They're not doing what the people want.
Well, I have a question which I'm not sure, and I think when Trump passed his tax law, was that purely a Republican with no Democrats involved? Was that just a Republican move?
I think.
I believe so, but I'm not sure.
Any Democrats involved, it was very few. They had the votes. They had the majority,
and they pushed it through.
And I don't remember if the Democrats tried to filibuster it. I don't remember that they had 60 votes, the Republicans, but I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure. Yeah. Because if that law were passed and Democrats voted for it, then or the Democrats didn't filibuster it, then they failed. You know, I mean, right now you're seeing the Democrats failing in the fact that Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are not voting to get rid of the filibuster. Because all they have to do is get rid of the filibuster. Then they can pass all the laws. They could get rid of all these anti-voting laws. I mean, Texas signed another law last night to stop people from voting. That's the only way they can win. They can't win if people vote. Can you imagine when they started this country, if Madison said, look, I think we're going to reach a day where they're going to try to stop people from voting. And don't forget, back then, women couldn't vote.
Well, they did also. Didn't they have I don't know if it was an education barrier or land ownership? There was some sort of qualification.
Yeah. There was all kinds of qualifications. And senators were not elected. They were appointed.
Yeah. So not everybody could vote.
But the Bill of Rights set up things pretty clearly, you know. And they also set up a government where it could be changed when it went awry, you know. And right now, even though over 80 million people voted for Biden, and it doesn't matter because with the 60 vote thing, the filibuster, you can't do anything unless all the Democrats vote together, and then Vice President will be the deciding vote, and they could pass whatever they want, and they're not doing it. So I think it's a horror, and I don't think this country has ever been in worse in a worse position.
But you know, I didn't realize that the presidents, you know, even though we have a majority in the presidency, that really is only good for 2 years, because if we lose, because for the 2 years while Biden is in,
right,
we have the 2022 election. If
they stop people from voting like they're doing,
right,
then
and we lose the House and the Senate,
won't win the election because they won't have enough people that can vote.
Right,
even though they're eligible.
Right, and if we lose the Senate and the
we're dead.
And then the
if
House,
we lose that, we're finished.
Yeah,
you know what? They'll figure out a way to impeach him and make it work. They'll impeach Biden. They'll find some kind of a cause. They'll find something, and they'll impeach him for it. I couldn't find one positive thing in the newspaper today. Not one in the whole newspaper. Not one positive thing. Imagine, it used to be there was one bad thing and everything else was okay, you know. So it's really, you know, and I don't think, and religion, it's like Bill Maher says, religion does more harm than good.
Well, as I say,
it puts people against each other. It doesn't make people love each other. It puts them against each other.
That I agree with you.
And so, you know, I mean, and then these people who want to get rid of abortion, you know, if you don't want abortion, don't do it. But don't tell me what to do. You have no business.
Well, it's funny. It's like, you know, the people who, you know, are doing this. I don't know if you heard Abbott speak, the governor. Yesterday or the other day.
Texas?
Where he said he's going to.
Psycho.
They're going to do. They
deserves to be put in jail. I mean, they want to recall Newsom, and this guy in Texas is allowed to remain governor. Yeah. What the other idiot in what's the other state? New Orleans, in Louisiana or Mississippi, that is saying in Florida. In Florida. I mean, the people don't want that. I don't know why they elect these idiots. But
but they're elected.
No, they're not. They're not elected. I don't believe that for a minute. When you have the guy who's running for governor in Georgia, he's also running the election. Do you really think he was legitimately elected? No, he wasn't elected. He stopped people from voting. That's why they know it works. He wasn't legitimately elected. Biden was legitimately elected. Trump wasn't even legitimately elected the first time. He didn't win the majority.
No, the question. No, I think he did win the majority the first time, but it was also because of a lot of misinformation that was put out by. He
didn't win the majority, Trump. He didn't win. He lost the election by 3 or
4. Yeah, right. But he won the electoral.
Bush won. Bush is the only president that won a legitimate. The only Republican that won a majority since Nixon.
Didn't win a majority of voters, but he won the Electoral College, which was the important thing.
Yeah, but still, when the American people voted by 3 or 4, 2, 3 million to put Hillary Clinton in the White House, and then they cheated in those states. They knew what they were doing. Russia and all of that. Come on, they fed Russia the polls so Russia could. All they needed was a few votes.
Right. I mean,
that's all they needed. So you know that was fixed, and George W. Bush got away with murder. He should have been put in jail. He's the worst president.
Well, the worst thing that happened during my lifetime was the invasion of Iraq.
Right. It was dumb and dust.
Because of the.
I mean, I spoke to General Schwarzkopf personally. I did a show in Florida, and he was the guest speaker. And I sat in the green room. Wait 1 second. Don't go away.
Okay. Where am I going to go? I'm stuck here for another 3 minutes.
I just want to show you that I'm not BSing. Token standing with General Norman Schwarzkopf, okay? See that?
Yeah.
Okay. I asked him, how come you didn't go into Baghdad? Because we were sitting in the green room schmoozing, and you know me, I'll talk. He said, well, first of all, The UN mandate was only to kick them out of Kuwait. Okay, that was the
Right.
UN mandate. So we were following the UN mandate. And second of all, and this was in 1994,
Mhm.
if we would have went after them in Baghdad, we would still be there. Now, what followed when George W. Bush went in is we're still there.
Yeah.
So he was right, and he knew, and they knew. And President Bush, the first Bush, who I also met and talked to,
Now, don't bring the pictures.
when he was vice president, he knew that we had to get out. He knew, you don't go to Baghdad. That was part of him too, because you go in Baghdad, you're going to be in there forever. And the worst thing was to also politically was to get rid of Saddam Hussein, because even though he was an evil son of a bitch, he was keeping the Middle East more or less level.
Yeah. Anyway, Phil, I hate to tell you this, but you heard the little beep, beep, beep.
I know. Well, I don't know if anybody learned anything from this. I'm just more angry.
Yeah. Well,
I think our country is in severe jeopardy. I think that by the end of, I don't know if I'll survive, but by the end of Biden's term as president, if all these voting things get passed, then the next president will be a Republican. They will have, and it could be any one of these wackos like Larry Elder. And
that's see what happens with California.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could.
We'll know by the 14th or thereabouts.
But he couldn't. But he'll take the country right down the slope. Yeah. Right. I mean, you'll see. They'll get rid of Social Security. They'll get rid of Medicare. Of course, all the money is going to go to the top 1% of people, and all the power, and everybody else will be a slave. And wage. They don't want to raise. They don't want to raise the minimum wage even.
Well, Larry Elder doesn't believe in the minimum wage. Anyway, with that, Phil,
everybody you're getting screwed, and it's going to be worse. Yeah. If you're a Republican, you think they're okay. They're not. They're evil.
Well, let's think positive. Have a happy and healthy New Year.
Yeah. Tiki-taki.
Bye.